Hey yogis and yogis, welcome to Yogana. My name is Anna, and today we're going to be doing a yin flow. So if you're unfamiliar with what yin is, it's the opposite of yang. So we're going to be moving a whole lot less than we usually do if you've practiced any of the other videos. We're going to be on the floor a lot and just really in restorative, kind of relaxing poses. So if you have any props, these are really going to come in handy just to open us up and let gravity and time really open up the tissues rather than movement. So if you have a pillow, a blanket, and maybe even a yoga block, these are really going to come in handy. But if you don't have any of those, you just have a space on the floor, no worries. We'll work around that. So go ahead and hop into your comfiest clothes and we'll get started. Alright friends, so we'll go ahead and begin today's practice in child's pose. So if you have that big old pillow and you want to use that or a bolster, we'll go ahead and set that up just in front of us and then bring the big toes together, knees out wide or together, and then just reach the arms forward, framing your arms alongside that pillow or bolster, and then let the heart melt, just letting the cheek fall to one side or the other. Just get nice and comfortable. And again, if you don't have that pillow, no worries at all. Just find that child's pose that we normally find, extending the arms, sinking the hips low behind us, and settling in, releasing in the head, releasing in the hips with every exhale, and just starting to ground in. So just taking a few breaths really intentionally, noticing what your breath is doing without changing anything to start. And then just beginning to inhale and count to yourself, reaching your peak maybe to a count of 4. And then exhaling a count or 2 longer out the nose. Continuing that flow, really feeling the inflation and deflation of the belly as you inhale and exhale. Just about 2 more rounds of breath here. On the next inhale, if your head is facing one direction, if it's lowered down on a pillow or bolster, just go ahead and take this time to flip to the opposite cheek so you're evening out the neck here. And continue that breath. If the head is just down on the mat, just continuing the breath without changing anything. Good, and again, just one more round of breath on this side. And then as we inhale, we'll just start to deepen the breath. And then bring the head back through center if it's not already there. Go ahead and move that pillow or bolster to the side. We're going to move into Sphinx pose. So here, if you have a block, go ahead and grab onto that and just place it at the top of the mat. If you don't, again, no problem. We'll go ahead and extend the legs behind us. Prop ourselves up onto our forearms like a tripod. So the elbows are a little bit wider than the torso. The forearms are planted, fingers spread nice and wide. And then maybe even just shake out the hips a couple times so that you're released fully, just softly shaking fully in the low back and the glutes, so no tension there. Good, and then you'll find, or you might find, this is a really challenging posture just because we're used to being hunched over all day. This is really opening up in the heart, the shoulder blades. So just without moving anything, or maybe with moving a little bit, let the shoulders fall down the spine or just focus on that area. As you breathe, let the shoulders really relax and settle into the shoulder sockets. And then let the hips aim forward like they have lasers aiming towards the front. So here's a good option. If you want to grab onto that block to rest the forehead just on the block, that can give your neck a little bit of a break. But again, if you don't have the block, no worries, because you're getting more of an opening, more of a challenge by lifting that neck up. Good, so then once you settle in here, maybe close down the eyes or just find a soft gaze in front of you. So again, in Yin, we're not moving a lot. We're holding these poses for about 3 to 5 minutes. And it may look like it's a really, really passive practice, like it's super easy, we're not doing much, but it's actually doing so much in the connective tissues, just really opening up with time and gravity. It can be really, really challenging just to find stillness and quietness from your day. Just checking in if the mind has wandered off to what happened during your day or what's happening with the week ahead. Just see if you can bring it back into that breath like we started practice. Just bringing it back to that breath count off of any distractions with no judgment if it went somewhere else. It's the beauty of the Yin practice. It takes practice. Good. These last few breaths, you're welcome to stay right here with the elbows planted. Or if you want to open up a little bit deeper in the torso, go ahead and take the hands to the corners of the mat. Press into the palms, extend and lift the elbows as you start to lift the stomach up off of the mat. Shoulders are still down the spine. Relax in the glutes. You really feel that compression in the low back. But no worries, we'll find that counter pose always and reopen, bringing fresh blood to that area. Good. On the next exhale, we'll start to lower down the elbows again. Bring those palms back underneath the torso and then press the hips back. Find child's pose just for a moment, just in the transition. So again, really focusing on the low back, bring the big toes together and bringing fresh blood, fresh air, fresh oxygen to that area in the low back. Super restorative. Good. On the next inhale, we're moving as slow as molasses for between each posture, between each transition. So just lifting up the hips slowly, really intentionally coming down to your sits bones, finding a wide-legged seat. We're gonna move into Dragonfly. So if you have that blanket and you want to stack it kind of high, we're just gonna sit on the edge of that blanket to lift up the hips a little bit. Take the feet out nice and wide, grab onto that block and bolster. Place the block just right in front of you, nice and tall, and then grab onto that bolster or pillow, and we're just gonna stack it like a slide down on the block. So if you need to adjust a little bit once we start to get into the posture, you're welcome to. But again, if you don't have any of this, just find a wide-legged seat and we'll fold forward. So as we inhale, we'll lengthen through the spine, come to the fronts of the sits bones, and then exhale, start to walk the hands forward, making sure you're not overextending in the knees. So keep them a little bit bent, a little bit soft. And then maybe if your forehead can reach the props, just relaxing the forehead on the top of a pillow or a block or just the air. So those hands just grounding you, the head just hovering over the floor, and the shoulders really relaxed down the spine. And this is a really, really awesome posture. If you're sitting all day, it really opens up the low back and the hips from those knees being so close together all day, maybe even tensing up through stressful situations. Just checking in with your mind again if it's wandered off. See if you can welcome it back in. Focus on your breath. Focus on the areas in your body. It might feel really tight. And just practice breathing into those tight areas. Find that place of peace in your mind rather than the situations you're in. They're not always super comfortable. Just knowing that they're all just seasons, and discomfort isn't always a bad thing. It takes us to new levels. It grows us. It shapes us. It molds us. And there's so much power in just sitting in the chaos, finding stillness, finding that place of peace, finding your breath. These last few breaths, if your body has noticeably come a little bit deeper into the posture, maybe just scooting the hands forward a little bit more, moving the props a little bit further forward. Just no forcing here. Just notice if your body has already started to naturally open up and how productive stillness can be, even though it looks like you're not doing much. There's so much going on in the rest. ready. If this feels really, really awesome, you're welcome to stay here a little bit longer. Maybe pause the video. But otherwise, we'll go ahead and start to deepen the breath. And slowly lift up the head as you walk the hands in towards the body, lifting up the torso, moving the props out of the way. And then taking the hands all the way behind you, we'll slowly, slowly bend into the knees, plant the feet, keep the feet out wide, and then just find windshield wipers with the knees. So again, as slow as molasses, just really letting the knees fall slowly to one side then the other, reopening in the hips. Just intentionally moving, noticing if holding one side or the other feels a little bit better. No rush to come out of it. Good. And the next time the knees come back through center, we'll go ahead and make our way onto our backs. So again, just moving all the props out of the way. And then finding a deep morning stretch, we'll extend the arms and legs, reach all the way overhead, point the toes, and then hug the knees into the chest. Finding stillness, that flat back, or massaging out the spine a little bit, rolling out ankles. Good. And then on the next exhale, extending the arms and legs. Finding a reclined C shape or banana asana, we'll get into the side body. So we'll take the heels over to the bottom right corner of the mat. Grab onto the left wrist with your right hand. Pull yourself over to the right side of the mat. And then re-ground in that left shoulder, that left hip point, making sure you're not rolling onto the right side of the body. Still grounded through all 4 points of the back. And then if you need something a little bit deeper in that left torso, maybe see if it feels okay to cross the left ankle over the right. If not, just keep the heels side by side. You'll get that same opening. We hold so much emotion in our body. So as we hold these poses, some areas that are still holding on to stress, emotion, might start to open up. Especially once we find that quietness, that stillness that our minds have been craving for all day. Some things might start to surface. But again, just finding that place of peace in your mind and not in your situations. Coming back to your breath and the points of your body that are grounded. See if you can validate those feelings that come up. We'll start to deepen the breath. And then uncross the ankles if they're crossed. Slowly, slowly walk the heels back through center, arms back overhead. Deep morning stretch again. Notice the difference in both sides, and then when you're ready, walking the heels over to the bottom left corner, grabbing onto the right wrist with your left fingertips, and then resettling into that right side, maybe crossing the right ankle over the left, grounding through that right shoulder, that right sits bone, and then breathing deeply into the space in between. And settling back in with the mind, the body. And then when you feel balanced on this side, or whenever you're ready to move on, we'll begin to deepen the breath again. Uncross that right ankle if it's crossed. Bring your body back through center. Find one last deep morning stretch. And then hug the knees back into the chest. Finding any final movements your body needs to feel complete. Some options, maybe bring the feet together, knees out wide. Lower down the feet, find reclined cobbler's pose, reopening in the inner hips that we just closed. Maybe you want to finish off with legs up the wall, just scooting the legs up the wall, re-extending the legs, feeling the opening in the backs of the hamstrings. Or you just want to finish off with shavasana. Fully extending the arms and legs, letting the toes fall out to the corners of the mat, shoulders tuck under the spine, palms face the ceiling. Releasing muscles in the face by opening and closing the jaw. And then one final cleansing breath here, just getting rid of all the stale air. We'll take a deep inhale through the nose, fill up in the belly. Exhale out the open mouth. And then just let your body fully absorb this practice. Feel nice and heavy and grounded. And maybe fall asleep here. Thank you all so much. Hope you enjoyed today's practice. Namaste. If you enjoyed this video and feel great, please subscribe to my channel so you don't miss the next flow.